Cek 1 2 1 2. Cek 1 2. Cek 1 2. Cek 1 2 1 2. Sudah tak? Cek. Cek 1 2. Cek 1 2. Baik. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera dan salam sehat untuk kita semua. Pertama-tama marilah kita panjatkan puja dan puji syukur kepada Tuhan Yang Maha Esa yang telah melimpahkan rahmat dan hidayahnya kepada kita semua sehingga kita bisa berkumpul di acara workshop Bloomberg Terminal pada hari Rabu 31 Januari 2024 bertempat di ruang e-library Perpustakaan Universitas Airlangga. Yang terhormat Miss Jenny Liu, ASEAN Equity Market and Product Specialist Bloomberg Singapore, Mr. Ade Hidayat, Account Manager Bloomberg Indonesia, yang kami hormati Ibu Suherni Esos MSI selaku Kepala Perpustakaan Universitas Airlangga beserta jajarannya, serta Bapak Ibu dan mahasiswa peserta hybrid workshop. Berikut ini adalah susunan acara pada hari ini. Yang pertama adalah pembukaan, menyanyikan lagu Indonesia Raya dan himne Airlangga, doa, sambutan, penyampaian materi, sesi tanya jawab, dan yang terakhir adalah penutup. Bapak, Ibu, dan rekan-rekan mahasiswa yang kami hormati, kami mohon untuk bangkit berdiri untuk menyanyikan lagu Indonesia Raya dan himne Airlangga. Hadirin dimohon untuk duduk kembali. Bapak, Ibu, dan para hadirin yang saya hormati, sebelum melangkah ke acara berikutnya, marilah kita bersama-sama membuka acara dengan berdoa. Terlebih dahulu, semoga acara yang kita laksanakan pada hari ini dapat bermanfaat dan berjalan dengan lancar. Doa berdasarkan kepercayaan masing-masing, berdoa dimulai. Doa selesai. Acara selanjutnya adalah sambutan dari Kepala Perpustakaan kepada Ibu Suherni Esos MSI. Kepada beliau kami silakan.
Matur nuwun Mbak Septi selaku MC. Bapak Ibu sekalian, pastinya kami ucapkan terima kasih atas kehadirannya ya. Dan Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera dan pastinya salam sehat untuk kita semuanya. Yang terhormat kepada Ibu Jenny. Selamat datang di Universitas Erlangga. Tidak bisa sama sekali. Dari Taiwan. Selamat datang kepada Pak Adek. Sudah beberapa kali ya ke UNER. Bapak Ibu mahasiswa dan dosen dari Universitas Erlangga, sekali lagi kami ucapkan terima kasih atas kehadirannya di sini, baik secara langsung maupun yang mengikuti secara virtual. Pastinya acara ini terselenggara atas adanya rahmat serta hidayah dari Tuhan Yang Maha Esa gitu ya, dan juga atas kerjasama antara Bloomberg dan tim perpustakaan Universitas Erlangga. Rekan-rekan mahasiswa, petugas ruang baca Pak Munir matur nuwun atas kehadirannya, dan memang kita minta supaya sama-sama kita belajar dan tahu karena Bloomberg ini memang terbatas untuk penggunanya, yaitu khusus bagi Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis serta ada di vokasi ya. Di vokasi kan ada program studi akuntansi. Ngaten nggih Pak Munir nggih. Makanya itu yang kami minta untuk hadir karena dengan berlanggannya kita untuk Bloomberg ini kita ditarget Pak. Target penggunanya. Kalau tidak nanti kita yang kena. Ya. Emang selama ini untuk pengadaan database e-jurnal ini maunya dari Sivitas Akademika, tapi tetap yang bertanggung jawab adalah perpustakaan seberapa besar penggunaannya. Makanya kami selalu minta kepada Pak Adek untuk melakukan sosialisasi atau training serta pendampingan kepada tim kami supaya kami dapat memanfaatkan secara maksimal terhadap Bloomberg ini. Kalau tidak kita kena temuan gitu ya Pak. Karena banyak pengalaman dari beberapa database, terlepas itu usulan masukan dari SIFA, kalau pemanfaatannya rendah, kita diminta untuk menghentikan. Untuk tahun ini yang kita hentikan channel ya Mbak, channel aja ya. Tahun kemarin cas gitu ya. Jadi terlepas itu masukan usulan baik dari dosen mahasiswa, kalau pemanfaatannya rendah, tidak akan kami teruskan untuk melanggan. Dan untuk Bloomberg ini khusus kita menggunakan dana DAPT, dana pemerintah. Sehingga kita benar-benar selalu dikawal oleh pihak Universitas Erlangga atas nama BPP, Budidin dan Pak Erik. Bapak Adek udah pernah ketemu ya. Ya, kita ditarget dalam 1 tahun ini penggunaan kita sekian ribu mahasiswa. Makanya rekan-rekan mahasiswa ya, baik S1, S2, S3 dan dosen, monggo kalau misalkan belum bisa memanfaatkan Bloomberg dengan baik, sampaikan kepada kami dan kami akan mengkomunikasikan dengan Pak Adek selaku pihak dari Bloomberg itu Pak Adek ya. Itu yang bisa kami sampaikan. Sekali lagi kami ucapkan terima kasih atas tergabungnya baik secara langsung maupun secara virtual, dan kami mohon maaf jika kurang dari tempat dan segala sebagainya. Ini khusus kenapa untuk Bloomberg ini kita adakan di sini sehingga jumlahnya terbatas karena mengingat dari tim kami itu stationnya ada di sini. Pak Ade. Biasanya kita adakan di lantai 3. Nggih. Kemarin memang ada tawaran, nggak apa-apa kalau misalkan stage-nya diunggahkan di atas, tapi teman-teman kita coba di sini. Makanya segala sesuatunya sudah kita siapkan, ya kalau misalkan memang ada kekurangannya kami mohon maaf yang sebesar-besarnya. Demikian terima kasih atas perhatiannya, demikian juga dari pihak Pak Ade ya dan timnya kami ucapkan thank you. Terima kasih atas partisipasinya pada hari ini. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Ibu atas sambutannya. Selanjutnya adalah acara inti, di mana akan ada beberapa rangkaian acara termasuk pemaparan materi dan diskusi serta tanya jawab kepada beliau, Miss Jenny Liu. Kami silakan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih ya Bu Hernik dan teman-teman sudah mengundang kami balik ke Surabaya, ke kampus Unair. Kami senang sekali, saya dan Bu Jenny senang sekali sudah bisa balik lagi ke sini untuk kedua kalinya. Ya, jadi untuk hari ini kami akan memulai dengan menunjukkan dan memberitahukan sejarah untuk Bloomberg Terminal. Apa itu Bloomberg Terminal dan how did Michael Bloomberg find this company? Jadi 40 tahun yang lalu dan before I go any further, mungkin kalau boleh saya tanya dari teman-teman yang cita-citanya menjadi banker atau masuk ke dalam bidang finance, kalau boleh angkat tangan. Ya, majority ya, oke siap. Jadi 40 tahun yang lalu, Michael Bloomberg adalah fixed income trader di Solomon Brothers di New York. Tapi even though he was doing very well, he was making a lot of money, dia dipecat. Tetapi when he was fired, dia mendapatkan severance package yang lumayan besar. Jadi the biggest issue yang dia encounter adalah kenapa sih kan kalau bond market, fixed income market, obligasi itu adalah traded in OTC market ya, over the counter. Dan saat itu di 1980 itu sangat sulit untuk mendapatkan harga untuk obligasi. Di mana itu Michael Bloomberg memulaikan software yaitu Bloomberg Terminal untuk memberikan trader-trader di seluruh dunia akses untuk melihat harga-harga untuk obligasi. Ya, oleh karena itu fixed income adalah market yang terbesar untuk Bloomberg. Setelah beberapa tahun kemudian Bloomberg expanded ke market equity, forex, dan recently adalah untuk komoditas, ya, especially with the emergence of ESG. Oke. Jadi untuk hari ini kami ingin mengundang Bu Jenny. Bu Jenny adalah market specialist untuk equity. Sebelumnya Bu Jenny bekerja di AGI ya, Allianz Global Investment, dan setelah itu di HSBC di Hong Kong. Setelah itu Bu Jenny pindah ke Singapura untuk join Bloomberg sebagai market application specialist untuk equity. Ya. Jadi hari ini we will cover a lot of topics ya. Untuk dari dasarnya, Bloomberg itu adalah financial data platform, di mana kami akan cover beberapa topik-topik untuk mencari financial statement, cara menganalize fundamentals, melihat earning estimates, dan juga untuk financial modeling. Dan setelah itu, recently beberapa tahun yang lalu kami membuat emphasis untuk AI. Apa itu AI? As you all know, artificial intelligence. Kami setiap tahun bekerja dengan product managers untuk mengembangkan sistem kami untuk implementasikan artificial intelligence di Bloomberg Terminal. Ya. Dan sebelum kami mulai, mungkin saya ingin minta 2 volunteer ya untuk duduk di depan Bloomberg Terminal. Karena kami ingin membuat sesi ini lebih interaktif supaya bisa dipraktekkan di depan terminal. Pak, boleh? Bu, boleh ya? Dua layar. Yang lebih ahli, Pak.
Perkenalan, saya Junaidi dari Universitas Trunajaya Madura. Beberapa waktu yang lalu sesi Zoom saya sempat bertanya untuk panel data ASEAN Environment Social Sustainability. Tapi mungkin waktu itu karena keterbatasan saya hanya dapat satu data time series untuk ASEAN. Mungkin pada sesi ini saya bisa mendapatkan lebih. Terima kasih.
Thank you. Let me introduce myself. I'm Rodame. I'm from Islamic Economic Department, doctoral program. And this is my first time to learn this Bloomberg, to use this. So I'm very hoping I can learn more and can apply it in my research. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Sorry I don't speak Bahasa, but nice to meet you all. I believe Ade has done a very good introduction for me, so I'll skip that part and jump directly into what we can do on the Bloomberg terminal when you're analyzing is like index, markets, or trying to do research on an equity, and normally what kind of functions that people are using on their job, etc. Okay. So firstly, like when you look at stock, normally you start looking at the market first. So I'll start with market movement and I'll take JCI index as example and then showcase that what we can do with the terminal. So the first function echoing to what Ade just mentioned. Okay. So like for the first function, the function code is AID. So for this one, it's echoing to what Adam mentioned. It's using artificial intelligence, AI, to summarize the market movement as well as what you need to know for the index. So for example, here, what you can see is that on top, you have the movement, and then you have the matrix. So in terms of what's moving, what is the constituent stock is moving, and then what are the insights over the past year, past week that the AI thinks that's important that it highlights to you. And in terms of macro, it will tell you about the currency, the bond rates, etc. So it's a quick start when you just start looking at the market. So on top, like the red box said that it basically summarized the market movement for you. And digging further into this, you might wonder like what is exactly the movement for JCN index. So this is essentially on top of the terminal, there will be a bar like Google search. You can just type in whatever you want to do. So for example, I want to see JCI index movement in chart. So I can just type in graph JCI index. And then it will pop up a chart like this. So you can see this is a movement for JCI index since beginning of 2023. So this can save you a lot of time to figure out, what's happening. Like if you try to Google it, it's very hard. Like you need to press a lot of buttons and then you can get this. But on Bloomberg, you can just tap graph JCI index, then you can get the chart. Okay.
Nah, kembali ke topik artificial intelligence, halaman ini shortcutnya AID itu menggunakan AI untuk mencari semua key summary untuk suatu emiten atau saham. Jadi contohnya teman-teman bisa low ticker seperti Goto atau Medco dan lain-lain, dan Bloomberg akan mencari semua key metrics untuk saham itu. Seperti ini. Ini for example, ini adalah untuk JCI Index. JCI Index itu adalah shortcut untuk Indonesian Stock Exchange. Ya. Jadi teman-teman bisa melihat insights-nya, para di macroeconomic views, dan juga beberapa metrics. Data-data di Bloomberg terupdate setiap detik. Jadi setiap kali ada perubahan, terminal ini akan refresh untuk memberikan data-data yang terupdate.
So like in terms of the So in terms of the second thing we are going to look at under this function, it will be the matrix. So under matrix, it essentially tells you what are the single stock performer in the index. So with this, we can use the function most. And with JCI index, it tells you what are the stock that move up the most during the day and what are the stock that go down the most. And then if there is any headline that is captured by the terminal, you will see it in on the right-hand side. Also, like if you want to see the market mover over different time zone, here you can see using the other function called MRR. And here you will get like year-to-date performance, 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, 12-month performance over all the constituent stocks in the JCI index. So this can give you a quick understanding. For example, if you're looking for the stock that performed the best, but in JCI index, this will be a function you can use. So you can like start research on the single stock from here. Yeah. And then like moving to next step from index, we can go into like the industry research, like when you are trying to understanding like what kind of market trend there is on the market without exactly looking into a stock. I'll take electric vehicles, which is a very hot topic now, as an example for the industry research. So the first thing we can do is normally we will check what happened on the market, what's the news about this theme, right? So for electric vehicle, EVs, what I can do on the terminal is by NSTM, the function, it basically tells you what are the key themes that you need to know about the trend, know about the stock, know about the whole industry. So by EV, it tells you what the most important thing you need to know is that, okay, Tesla is going to build a new vehicle, and then Tesla sales like grow slower, and then there are new competitors coming into the market, and also telling you that Toyota is thinking about producing electric vehicles. So these are the key news that in the market that will affect the industry and that you might be aware of.
Ya, jadi kalau teman-teman saat ini lagi membuat tesis atau lagi membuat PR, biasanya kan to do your research, teman-teman harus baca berita kan. Biasanya teman-teman menggunakan apa? Apakah Google News atau Wall Street Journal dan lain-lain? Karena kalau teman-teman menggunakan Google, Google akan menampilkan ribuan sources of news. Tetapi Bloomberg again menggunakan artificial intelligence untuk mencari semua berita-berita itu, untuk memfilter dan mengindicate 3 sampai 5 tema untuk berita-berita yang ada. Jadi contohnya untuk ini EVs, electric vehicle kan saat ini hot topic kan. Bloomberg akan mencari semua berita-berita dari seluruh dunia, out of 1270 berita untuk hari ini, top topicsnya temanya adalah ini 5. Jadi Tesla untuk membuat mobil elektrik baru itu yang paling atas. Kita bisa lihat ada 105 out of 1270 berita. Berarti what it means is that out of semua berita-berita ada 105 berita yang topiknya sama, kontennya sama terkait Tesla membuat electric vehicle baru. Jadi what does this mean? This means that this will save so much time, make it more efficient untuk teman-teman untuk membaca berita. Daripada satu persatu membuka suatu news source, and you will end up seeing a lot of similar content. Jadi itu tujuannya untuk halaman ini.
So, and with the news to kind of understand what happened in the industry, the next function you can use is you can leverage on the Bloomberg Intelligence, which is the research analyst we hire like within Bloomberg. So here you can get to see a lot of different researches covering asset classes, covering economics, covering equity strategies, asset allocation, and even it covers some kind of big trends such as AI, such as EV, etc. So here basically it gives you all the free research on the terminal. It's conducted by the independent analysts. So it's essentially very similar to what people in the financial industry consume. So this can give you guys a quick overview on where to focus on and then what are people looking at. So for example, on the right-hand side, this seems very small, but anyway, like this is the industry research on global electric vehicle. And this could help you to see what are the trends, what are the relevant research that we have. And then next step, we also have player in themes that's available under Bloomberg Intelligence. And here, it's very small here, but basically it lists out every single companies that's relevant to the electric vehicle industry. So if, for example, you are researching on EV and then you want to see whether there are any Indonesian company that has relation with the EV supply chain, then this is the place that you can use. And the way we categorize this is we use like our analysts, they just said, oh, you know, Tesla is the EV company, but Toyota is not so much. So we have our human judgment here so that it will be very accurate in terms of whether it has electric vehicle exposure. And take a step further, you will always be wondering like who are selling the best in the electric vehicle space, right? And you can see here, like BYD is actually selling more electric vehicles than Tesla coming into September 2023. And this is something that people are very surprised about because it essentially tells you like the electric vehicles with lower price has a better competitiveness compared to Tesla, which is like way more expensive. And then it tells you every single car company who manufacture electric vehicles in terms of their sales on electric vehicles. So here you can even see like Toyota, Ford, like Skoda, like the traditional car makers who are producing EV and then their sales in the EV sector. So this roughly wrap up my coverage on the industry side.
Jadi apa itu BI? Bukan Bank Indonesia ya, bukan Central Bank. Tapi Bloomberg Intelligence. Apa itu Bloomberg Intelligence? Ini adalah in-house research analyst unit kami di mana di seluruh dunia, all the global offices di New York, London, San Francisco, Singapura, dan Hong Kong, kami mempunyai 400 research analyst. Dan biasanya mereka tuh mempunyai experience lebih dari 10 tahun dari sell side banks, either dari JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, misalnya mungkin maybe Mansec, and so on. Mereka join Bloomberg untuk set up research report mereka sendiri. Mereka juga offer beberapa data-data yang bisa diakses oleh all the Bloomberg users. Okay. On top of that, kami juga offer beberapa research report yang sudah dirilis oleh sell side banks. Ya, again dari Morgan Stanley, dari Hanam Putirai, dan sekuritas-sekuritas lain yang bisa diakses di Bloomberg Terminal. Tapi apa keunggulannya Bloomberg Intelligence? karena kami adalah independent party, there's no biasness, dan juga kami offer research untuk tema-tema yang berbeda, misalnya research terkait ESG, research terkait electric vehicles, perbankan, dan lain-lain. Oke, and another thing, what's good about Bloomberg Intelligence, karena research analyst ini adalah employee Bloomberg, jika teman-teman ada pertanyaan terkait chartingnya atau data tersebut, teman-teman bisa langsung membuka kontak mereka dan teman-teman bisa langsung email research analyst ini.
Okay, so next step, like after understanding the market, understanding the industry, then we can scope down into single stock. And here I'll use the local stock as an example, which is Bank Central Asia, BCA. Okay, so this you can see like what we can do on local market. So firstly, when you try to research on the single stock, what's like the first step you will see is that whether the company is coming to do some earnings call, whether they have like the annual general meetings. So like the events that the company is holding will be a starting point for you. So we have this function EVTS that basically can sort out all the market, all the company events that over a certain period within a certain market. So here I try to filter out all the upcoming events back in mid-January that would happen in Indonesia. So essentially it will list out every single company and the dates and what they are doing on that day. So this could be a very like easy start for you to trying to follow the company. And after the events, basically there will be earnings call note, right? Or like some kind of company presentation. And normally when you want to get this information, you will have to get it from company's website or from the exchange. But here we have this DS document search function. On the terminal itself, what you need to do is to type in what is the stock you are interested in or what is the index you are interested. Then it will pop up all the relevant documents that is associated with the index with the stock. So it could include like the company presentation, earnings call notes, and then their annual report, etc. So that you don't have to do Google search everything. And you can do it here, and then it will lead you to the most accurate and the official document. Yeah. And then here comes the most important thing. I like if there is one function I would like to introduce you on the single equity side, it will definitely be this one. So this is the landing page of the stock. So every stock have this landing page, which would basically tells you every single thing, summarize every single thing you need to know about a stock. So here you can see on top, we have the BI research, like Bloomberg Intelligence Research, that is linked to BCA. And on bottom, we have the price chart, like the beginning I show you, you can just graph and then you can find it. We also have the earning estimates. We have the dividend information, management, corporate, etc. So this is basically a quick overview. Like you don't have to look through everywhere to see over who's the president and what's the dividend, etc. You don't have to do that. We could collect all the information for you already. So on top, for example, the BI Research Premier, this one normally it covers company or industry. Like it tells you like the outlook of BCA, like in terms of its profitability, and then what are the loan growth situation, etc. So this is exactly the research that could help you start to dig further into the company. Anyone lost? Oh, good. Yeah. Okay. And then the next one would be like the next thing I want to highlight would be ESG, which is very important for I mean, it's increasingly important for everyone. And if you click in here, it gives you a summary page on what the ESG score is. So, for example, we'll have our Bloomberg score, and it's on the scale of 10, and BCA it's now at 3.9. And we also have the third-party scoring, such as MSCI and Sustainalytics, which are very heavily used by the industry. And what um, I- basically, if you want to see how we calculate the score, there are very detailed analysis that you can refer to. Yeah. And so it's like the charts on the bottom right just pop up. Like basically, you can see a very deep detail in terms of how we come up with the ESG score and what's the score on environment, social, and governance. And then on the bottom, you also have like what is the greenhouse gas emission, whether they have like net zero targets, and then what are their disclosure score, and then comparing to their peers, how is it performing, etc. So this essentially gives you everything you need to know about ESG. And in terms of how deep you want to go into it, you can select respective data for your analysis. I think Ate is busy, so any questions? Although I couldn't explain it in Indonesian, but I will try my best in English or Hokkien. Anyone?
Yes, I have questions. One questions.
Okay.
Thank you. My name is Sanju Kumar Singh. Hello, could you hear me? Could you hear me? Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yeah, so in terms of how our Bloomberg manage an investment portfolio, basically after you select stock, you can put it in a portfolio, right? So basically, when you have a full list of stocks and then the weight assigned to each of a stock, we have a function called port that it could help you to analyze every single like portfolio characteristic from their average PEPB to like sector exposure to performance analysis to risk attribution, etc. So I will go through the function later if this is something that is interesting for you guys. Um, yeah, the second question is, let me show this. Okay, so I got a second question asking like ESG score is the score announced yearly and how we can see this score every year. Okay, so I think the score is relatively stable, that we don't adjust a lot. And normally, yes, it should be changed annually because the sustainability reports that normally we rely on what company announced to public, right? And then normally the sustainability report from the company is announced on a yearly basis. So not until then, we will not get the data to like do the scoring again. So yes, the score will be in general like change only yearly. Yeah. So in terms of like ESG country score, list I had to check, but I'm not very sure if we have it. But we do have like country macro stuff that we can cover in the terminal, which I can show you guys later. But on the ESG side, probably we will collect all the data on like whether there's a net zero target or not for the country, but we don't assign scores to each of a country. So we don't say, okay, US is like 100 and then probably Malaysia is 0. No, I'm just joking. But like we don't assign score for country ESG. Yeah. So the next question is how to import data directly in Excel that am willing for research. Sorry, like what do you mean by import data from Excel?
Right. So, well,
That's the question.
could you hear me?
May I clarify more like what do you mean by import data directly from Excel?
Hello, could you hear me?
Yeah, it's on Zoom. It's Sanju Kumar. Oh, join online. Okay.
Am I audible? Am I audible?
I
Could you
can.
hear me? Could you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So actually, just I would like to know that basically we need a data for in Excel. Yes, yes, sorry, export. I forget about export the data.
Okay.
And that's
Okay.
not import. I forget about it. As missing the import and export, just like I'm sorry. Export the data for in Excel, like that whatever the data I have seen about Tesla and all these BYD and all those types of data that we need for like precise data, like there's of course the hundred and thousands of the all the data, but we need precise informations that we need like exact what variable that we want, like especially pricing and some features of the electric car and so on. So in that consent, like how we can that's what we want, and then we can export the data in the directly Excel. That's
Okay.
what.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
may I cover this later on together with the demonstration on terminal?
Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
thank you.
I'll go through the whole slide first, and then later on I'll cover like on top of the functions I mentioned in the slides, I will also cover the portfolio management one and also the Excel export data one. Yeah. And the next question is how to do a research on corporate change payouts such as cut dividend and share repurchase. Relevant chart on revenue and EPS charts. Okay, so yes, so we do have the function called CACS, which is the corporate action function, and then there you can see all the history of the company, like they change payout, they cut dividend, they do stock splits, etc. And this data is available on Bloomberg, and then in terms of revenue EPS charts, it depends on the setting you have. So by default, we don't incorporate it into the share price. We don't incorporate it into the EPS, but there's a setting. If you enable it, it could be included. So it's up to you whether you want to choose it or not. Yeah.
Teman-teman mungkin untuk Q&A-nya kita sudah berikan waktu 30 menit at the end of the session. Mungkin kita cover semua slides-nya dulu dan juga demonstrasinya. Teman-teman yang ada pertanyaan boleh ditulis dulu, ntar kita bisa go through them later. Teman-teman yang ada di Zoom, boleh ditulis dulu pertanyaannya, dimasukin di chat, ntar at the end kita akan cover semua pertanyaan-pertanyaannya.
So next thing from ESG is all about the numbers. So in terms of financial statements, I think it's always very painful if you need to type every numbers from the annual report to Excel, right? So here we have all the numbers clean. We have all the number cleaned and then put it in the very standardized format that you can leverage on. And then in terms of whether you want to do it on Excel, there you can see there's an export function on top, which could export all the numbers onto Excel so that it can help you to further do the calculations and stuff on Excel, right? And then here you can see we also have like different like statements, income statement, balance sheets, cash flow statement, etc. And then within each of a statement, there will be the company stated one as well as the Bloomberg adjusted one. So for the Bloomberg adjusted one, it's basically us taking off the one-off numbers so that you can compare it across different company, compare it across different period. It makes it apple to apple. So later on, I'll like show this function for you guys. And then it will be earnings and estimates. So I think earning estimates is one of the most important thing that why most of the financial institution that purchase our service, because like with the earning estimates, it essentially tells you how the whole market think about the stock. And then people normally just take the consensus number and then use it as the way to judge whether the stock is overpriced or underpriced by PE ratio, by PB ratio, etc. So I'll normally start with EE, like this is a function that shows everything we have on the earnings. So on top, you can see we have earnings history, we have consensus overview, which is the first one, history is looking back. For consensus overview is looking forward in the future. And then we also have analyst coverage. So what are the sell side analysts think about the stocks, whether it's a buy rating, a hold rating, or a sell rating, and then with their target price. Then we also have the model using all the consensus number to build. Let me show you. So for the first one, in the past earnings overview, this is the page you're going to see. And then on top, you can select like whether you want to see quarter earnings or annual earnings. And then in terms of measures, you can select you want to see EPS, or if you want to see like, for example, revenues, EBITDA, etc. And on the bottom, it shows you, okay, so when is the result getting announced? And then what is the reported number? And what is the estimate? And the comp, this one is our adjusted number that takes out all the one-off and the not abnormal lines of the revenue. So normally people will compare the reported number versus our estimate number. So it tells you like the company reported a number that is lower than the estimate. So it's like downside surprise. And then after a downside surprise, what is the price reaction to this earnings result? And surprisingly, it moves up. So I don't know why, we don't explain why, but we just show you the factual data. And then you can further analysis whether to see there's any kind of news or stuff that push the stock price up after the earnings comes out. And then for T12M, this is a trailing 12-month estimate. So this is essentially take the sum of the all four number here, and then it used this number to come up with what is the current PE ratio. So for the BCA, like the current PE ratio is 22 times. And whether it's expensive or not, we can judge later on. I'll show you the function. And then this one is the history, and this one is the forward-looking one. So on your left-hand side here, you will see like all the estimate number from the sell side analyst, which like basically it tells you like what's their expectation on the EPS, revenue, operating profit, etc. And these key items could basically help you to do your own financial model. And then if you click into EPS, it will show you something on the right. And basically it tells you how is the consensus moving. So you can see that for the white line, essentially like the consensus, people are expecting EPS to grow down at the end of March 2023 and then slightly goes up again. And it's the same kind of forecast for a blue line. It represents the March 2024 consensus. Like there's a drop at end of March-ish, and then it went up slightly. And then here it tells you where they get the number from. So it's basically Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and JP Morgan. And then with the consensus, how you are going to judge whether it's overvalue or undervalue, you can use this valuation multiples. So this you always learned it on your textbook, but like how in practice people use it is that they will see whether the stock, the current forward PE ratio, where it stands against itself in the longer term. So on this chart on top is the PE ratio. Basically, the white dotted line here is the long-term average PE ratio. The two green one is like the +1 and -1 deviation away from average. So according to mean reversion theory, it tells you if a stock is super expensive when it's approaching one standard deviation. Normally, it will go down if in a like very theoretical market. So basically, this tells you like the valuation of the bank is kind of expensive right now. And on the bottom, it's a forward-looking price-to-book ratio. So normally for banks, we will also look at price to book ratio because it has a lot of assets and it's not necessarily generate a lot of earnings and earnings growth. So it's more appropriate to look at the price to book ratio. So it's the same idea of mean reversion. So if you look at this, like the valuation by price to book ratio is extremely expensive now. So it's way above the one standard deviation. So in this case, if some people, some investor, they are very value driven, they will say that, well, I don't want to buy the stock. I want to sell the stock because it's too expensive. And then we also have this model, which use all the consensus number I showed you previously on the EEO. And it's structured in a way that you can see all the key ratios, key characteristic and measurements. And then on the right-hand side, you can see which sell side provides a number if you have the subscription to the sell side research. And then it also provides you a view over multiple periods. So for example, for EPS, you can see what is the growth since 2015 all the way to 2022, and 2023-24, what's the estimated number. Last one I want to show you is the peer comparison. So we have this function that we group all the banks together and then we capture the major measurement that you need to look at. For example, non-performing loans, net interest margin, etc. These key characteristics, and then we compare it across all the banks in the Asia Pacific region. So here you can see the peers includes Chinese bank, includes HSBC, includes Japanese bank, and then you can see where BCA stands against all the peers, and then in terms of year-on-year growth, whether it's performing better than the peers or not. So this is roughly, I think this is my last slide. So I will go to the terminal demonstration and then cover some of the Q&A. Okay. Okay, so I think firstly I will start with how the how you genuinely like navigate around the terminal. So firstly, if you want to look at JCI index, you can just type, this is the search bar. So you can just type JCI, then type index, and then there will be a lot of securities that like look similar to JCI index. And then what you can do is you click on this, and then it will ask you about what are the functions you want to use. Yeah, it will ask you about what are the function you want to use. So these, there are a lot of like, these are the functions. Some of it I have covered during the presentation. So for example, if you want to see the AI summarize news, the code is AID, right? So you can just type AID and then press enter. Yes. So here it generates like what happened on the market today. So you can see like JCI index, it goes up a lot. So it tells you the index has rose for like 0.25% today. And the broader market index, MSCI Asia Pacific, has gone down for 0.16%. So basically, like Jakarta stock, like JCI index performed better than the broader market today. And then it like I just demonstrate in the presentation, it shows you who are the movers, who are the single stock that perform the best in the index. And then it tells you the insight you may want to know, like what are the past 1 year performance, and then some of the key trades that it observed in the movement. And then on the macro side, it tells you about the currency. So here, following the next one is that how are you going to graph it? So like I show on the slide, you can just say graph, for example, JCI index, or you can do BBCA, like this, anyway, let me graph JCI index. Yeah, it will lead you to the graph function. And then here you see like the price movement and the trading volume on the bottom. And then in terms of like the events and stuff, so yeah, so then like the next thing I touch on the index is like what's the mover in the index. So if you type most, you will see the most active stocks in the market. So because the market is open now, so the number keep changing, and you can see these are the stocks that's being traded the most in terms of volume. So go to is like the most active, most traded stock on JCI index, and then you can see like what are the stocks that has increased the price the most, and what are the stocks that has decreased the price for the most today. And then if you want to look at different periods, you can try MRR, the member ranked returns. Here it tells you like what are the players that perform the like deliver the most positive return during the year to date period, and then what are the worst performing guys like during the year to date period. So on top here, you can change it to different period you want, or if you want to see like the group performance, like what are the best performing sectors, what are the worst performing sectors during this period, you can also do it. And then if you click on all, you can see each of the sector performance over all different time periods. And then all these are in the local currency. LCL stands for local currency, which is Indonesian rupee. Yeah, and then you can change it to US dollar if you want to factor in the currency changes. And then in terms of news theme, if you type NSTM, and if you don't remember the code, it's fine, you just type news theme. It will show you like which function you should be using. So here for JCI index, it capture, like for today, it capture a news that, yeah, like on oil, on like the movement, and then the rate cut, potential rate cut news from Bank Indonesia. And then, for example, if you want to do the BI research, on the research front, you just type BI. And for this one, it will lead you to, so for this one, it will lead you to the research report landing page. And here, basically on top, it tells you what are the feature research. So you can see, okay, China property is like a problem for sure. And then what are the home sales and what are the interesting things we recently produced. And down here, you can see what are the key data we recently have. And then on your left-hand side, you can click and play around. So under equity, you can see what are the research under each of a sector. So for example, under communication, you can focus on advertising. You can focus on internet media. Under financials, you can focus on asset management. You can focus on banks. You can focus on insurance. So it has, you can do the research based on the sector. And then we also have research covering credits, economics, like equity strategies like asset allocation, ESG, ETF, and mutual funds. And then what are the like the volatility strategies and deep dive or the market report. It's basically covering the big research. For example, like supply chain, EV, or like energy transition, food, health, etc. So this could could be interesting if you're doing academic research. Yeah, and then the next thing I'll move on to single stock. So it's the same. You type BBCA, and then it will pop up the security on the bottom. And then what you need to do is you select this, and then you press tab on your keyboard. And then now you can see what are the functions you want to use. So for example, I want to see what are the corporate events for BBCA. I can just type, it's EVT. Yeah, so this would lead you to the corporate event, like what are the corporate event that is coming up. And then here you can play around to see what are the scope you want. So for example, I want to see the JCI index. Okay, so here it tells you what would happen in the next 7 days. So there are all these stocks that is going to announce their annual results on different dates. And then after this, I will, okay, after this, like you can try document search. After the earnings call, you will want to see what are the documents that the company has released, right? So here, basically you can see there are a lot of different research, different earnings call, and then you can basically select from filings or like the source here. You can select what other stuff you want to see. So for example, I want to see company presentation and transcript and filing. Like these are simply the company documents. I press apply. And then on the right hand side here, you can put in what are the security you want to research on, or whether you want to research on the like single index. You can do JCI index or BBCA. If I try BBCA, it will give us all the like annual audited financial reports, and then their corporate presentation and their preliminary result, etc. So these will be the official document that comes directly from the corporate, so that you don't have to Google and then go to IR site and then try to see whether there's this and that. Yeah.
Jadi halaman ini sangat useful untuk teman-teman yang sedang mengerjakan coursework atau mengerjakan tesis ya. Kalau teman-teman ingin mencari research report untuk suatu perusahaan, this is the main page untuk to download those reports.
Yeah. So then, and then navigating on the terminal, the next one you want to see the landing page for the stock. So you will do DS. It stands for description. So this will be the only function I would like you to remember, because that you can find every single thing from here. So this is exactly the same as what I showed you on the presentation earlier. And on top, we have the research, and then normally you can just click in and then it will lead you to the research that the BI analyst can produce. And then on the bottom, you can see the price charts, estimate, dividend, etc. It's exactly the same as what I showed you. And then, for example, you can click onto issue info. It tells you what are the public offerings and like issue information, etc. And then for this one, regarding one of a question asking about the corporate actions, you can click from here and you will see all the stock splits history, your dividend history, and then whether they are doing secondary like SPO or IPO again. So this could help you to understand what happened on the primary market side and what are the action, the capital structure changes, etc. You can see, look at it from here. And then on your right hand side, you can see like these are the owners of the company. So how many institutional owners that the company has, and then how many shares are owned by institutional owners, etc. And insider holders, top holders, like these are the holders information for the company.
Jika teman-teman ingin mempelajari saham baru ya, which you're not familiar with, ini halaman yang bisa digunakan untuk mendapatkan high level informasi untuk saham-saham tersebut. Jadi teman-teman bisa melihat harga saham, bisa melihat fundamentals ratio, dan juga beberapa data-data untuk ESG disclosure score.
Yeah, and I heard ESG. So you can click around to see what it is about. So for ESG, you basically can just click in to see what is it about and how is it calculated. And bottom here, you can see, for example, for banks, what are the most important topics for it. So it will be sustainable finance, ethic and compliance, and for example, board composition, etc. These are the focus field for all the banks and the financial industry. So it also highlights to you that when you start conducting your ESG research, you will have a preliminary direction in terms of where you want to go in. And then on the right-hand side, it also tells you whether the company has some net zero targets, like emission targets, etc. So this could give you a quick overview on what the company is doing on the ESG side. And also, like, you can play around on different tabs. So for example, on ratios, it tells you all the key ratios from P ratio to, for example, growth potential, like net interest margin, etc. All the key ratios that will be listed out on your textbook, it will be included here. And then also on the revenue and EPS, we have the current revenue and EPS as well as the previous ones, and we plot it together so that you can see how is the performance quarter over quarter, and then whether there's a sustainable growth from the company. This is very important when you are selecting a stock. And then from here, one of the key topic would be ESG, right? So there's a interesting thing is that for on Bloomberg Terminal, for most of function, it's just named as easy as you can imagine. So if you want to see ESG, you just type ESG. So this leads you to the ESG overview page for the company, and which will include very detailed stuff such as environment, social, and government scores and their situation versus peers. And then on the ESG score tab, it tells you what exactly it's measured against. So on the E environment score, it's measured against sustainable finance, and then it tells you like whether it does exclusion, whether it does integration, etc. How they do ESG in terms of sustainable finance, and then it also applies to social and governance. It will detail out what are the stuff that they are looking at when they are giving the score. So it has full transparency in terms of how the score is being composed. And then you can also check back to see, okay, what was the score back in 2020. So it was 4.02. It was higher back in 2020, and potentially it's because that not so many competitors are doing the same disclosure as it. So the thing would look better compared to in the previous year compared to this year. And we also have the climate data. So one of the thing is that we normally collect all the data from the public sources. So if you see like the red mark here, it doesn't mean that we don't do our job. It means that the company like they don't disclose the data. So we don't have the things to analyze and so that we will comment that they have weak action on climate change. And then under climate, you can check on their emission footprint and whether they have net zero path, etc. So this is very detailed analysis on the net zero and emission analysis. And then one last thing on the ESG page, if you are interested into how it's composed, then under methodology, you can click around ESG score, climate overview, etc. to see how exactly they compute the score. So that here we offer like full transparency that you can refer to. So if there's anything you are not like you are confused about, you can always use press F1 for twice, and then it could lead you to the live help, and then they will lead you to the professional ESG guy in our company so that they can do very deep dive for you guys. Yep. And then onto the earnings and the financial report side. Financial analysis it stands for FA. We just type it. And then you can see all the numbers that we cleaned it up. And then you can also see what are the, under key stat, you can see what are the key multiples for the company, and then its stock value. So this is basically the open price, high price, and low price, and the market capitalization of the company. And you can hover around different tabs. So under income statements, we got the Bloomberg adjusted one. This is like we take out all the one-off items. And then you can also check on as reported. This is exactly the report that's coming from the company statement. And then if you want to do it on the Excel spreadsheet, you can click on export. And then here we have the Excel that you can download it from. So you can just download like the current template, and then it will have all the number available on the Excel sheet for you to do further analysis. And this one, we also have like ratios. So ROE, ROA, ROIC, etc. Like all the key ratios that normally people look at. And you can even do like DuPont analysis. So it provides all the meat and bones for you when you are conducting this analysis, and you can make up your assumptions so that you can see how it changes over time. And then going into earnings. So the function is called EE. So going into here, this is an overview page for all the earnings, past earnings, and the forward-looking estimates. So basically, you can just click onto the title. So for earnings history, you click here. It will lead you to all the past earnings, and like I just shown on the presentation, what's the reported number, what's the estimate number, and what's the price change upon the reported number came out, etc. And then you can change the measurement. So it essentially covers all the key measures that you want to look at, including gross margin, EBITDA, net income, EPS, and then going back to a previous page, you can also look at EEO, which is the looking into future, the consensus overview. Here we get all the numbers from the sales side, and the gray number here, it tells you how many people has contributed to the number. So if the more number here, the more reliant the number could be. So it essentially tells you, okay, for 2023, everyone is expecting the EPS to be 397, but actually the real number is only 395. And then you can further break down to see like what's the difference between the estimates and the actual number using MODL. So here it compares like the actual number versus the market expected number, so that you can see where are the difference come from. This is the fourth quarter. So you can see like from previous page, the actual number falls below the market expectation. And then you can further break down to see, okay, so if it comes from the net revenue, the market is more bullish in terms of where the revenue could be, but actually like the bank didn't deliver as good results at the end. So you can break down all the items to see what happened to the company and what caused the discrepancy between the actual number and consensus number.
Di halaman ini bisa digunakan untuk membuat financial modeling. Kita udah menarik data-data dari estimates yang sudah diberikan oleh sell side banks ya, dari BNI Sekuritas, Mansek, JP Morgan Sekuritas, dan lain-lain untuk compare dan membuat konsensus. Dan kita bisa compare konsensus dari analis ini apakah itu berbeda dengan actual data. Jadi contohnya untuk Bank Mandiri kita bisa lihat bahwa revenue-nya itu adalah lebih rendah daripada ekspektasi.
Yeah, so the last function like from the presentation would be KPIC. So basically you can see all the function is linked. So you can click it from one function to another. So here it compares across all the APEC bank that I just mentioned previously. And then you can see what are the key measurements that we're using. So including net interest income, um, net interest margin, etc. All the metrics will be included here. And then you can see where the company stands and then where the medium is and then whether the company is performing better than the industry medium or not. And then this is a distribution of the whole peer group on net interest income. So this could be a quick overview for you to compare across different peers, and then you can see which is actually the best one for you to do further research on. So I'll stop here for the presentation. Like this basically cover everything we have on the presentation. And back to the Q&A.
Oke, sekarang thank you Jenny. Sekarang kita akan pindah ke sesi terakhir yaitu Q&A. Untuk teman-teman yang sudah hadir yang ada pertanyaan mungkin boleh raise up your hand atau enggak kita bisa. Ya Pak.
Mrs. How to get data all company in Indonesia in one place? Yes, financial ratio and so on.
Kami mempunyai halaman yang disebut EQS, yaitu Equity Screening. Ini adalah screening tool untuk mencari dan filter saham-saham di seluruh dunia menggunakan beberapa kriteria. Jadi di kotak kuning ini kita bisa pilih JCI Index untuk memfilter semua saham-saham di Indonesia. Lalu kita bisa klik on results di bawah. Again, this is gonna take all the saham-saham yang ada di Indonesia dan Bapak bisa menggunakan ini untuk alat sebagai alat analisa ya. Untuk custom list, Bapak bisa buka tab yang nomor 2 dari kanan, custom. Dan di kotak kuning atas kiri ini, jadi di halaman ini, di atas ini Bapak bisa melihat screening kriteria di atas ya. Bapak bisa menggunakan sektor, Bapak bisa menggunakan indices, bisa menggunakan country of territory. Jadi misalnya contoh, Bapak ingin mencari semua saham yang ada di Indonesia di bidang healthcare dan juga financials yang PE ratio-nya di atas 5%. Bloomberg akan menarik semua data-data semua saham-saham ini. Ini EQS, ya, equity screening.
ESG data and stakeholder engagement ada nggak? You have stakeholder engagement. Okay.
Di tab custom ini Bapak bisa menambahkan fields-fields yang berbeda. Misalnya untuk ESG. ESG disclosure score. Enter. Ini untuk disclosure score yang sudah ada. Dua adalah untuk harga saham. Can you add last? Day by day. Kalau itu lebih baik menggunakan Excel. Contohnya ini sekarang ini untuk harga saham for the latest. Ya. Kalau mau day by day, you can go to Excel now. Or maybe ya you can bisa ya, tapi jangan terlalu sering terlalu berat soalnya. Setiap hari ya, setiap hari beberapa bulan. Jadi untuk mencari harga saham historical untuk beberapa stocks kita bisa menggunakan Excel, ya. Di mana di Excel ini kami mempunyai fitur yang disebut BQL. BQL itu adalah Bloomberg Query Language. Ya, di mana kalau teman-teman pernah mengambil kelas coding SQL, ini mirip-mirip. Jadi ini menggunakan language untuk menarik semua data-data yang ada di Bloomberg ke dalam Excel. Jadi contohnya for example yang ini contohnya kita men-input beberapa bank seperti BCA, Bank Mandiri, atau BNI just for illustration purpose karena terlalu banyak kalau semua. Contohnya untuk 3 dulu. Ini kita pilih fieldnya adalah untuk mencari harga saham. Ya. Dan tanggalnya kita juga bisa pilih dari say bulan lalu, atau 1 tahun yang lalu, atau juga ya saat ini last 30 days untuk daily. Seperti ini. Yang NA itu adalah weekend ya, Sabtu Minggu. Berarti non-trading day.
Riwayat direksi, tenur, usia, apa bisa diekspor ke Excel?
Jadi pertanyaannya untuk melihat data-data board of director dan management, kita bisa menggunakan halaman yang disebut MGMT atau company management. Shortcutnya MGMT. Ya, jadi contohnya untuk BCA kita bisa lihat chairman-nya siapa dan board members-nya siapa saja dan including tenornya mereka sudah berapa tahun di perusahaan ini. Kalau untuk yang halaman ini kita double check dulu apabila tabel yang tadi bisa diekspor atau tidak. Double check first. Tapi ini basically halaman ini bisa digunakan sebagai kamus untuk melihat apabila data ini available untuk diekspor ke Excel. Otherwise mungkin bisa at the moment bisa screenshot dulu. Mungkin sekarang kita ke pertanyaan-pertanyaan yang ada di Zoom ya. Oke, you show that? Oke, mungkin kita menjawab pertanyaan-pertanyaan yang ada di Zoom.
Yeah, so on the question that on the corporate change payout, dividend, and per share, like share repurchase, etc. So what we can do is here on the terminal, if you try CADS, this is the corporate actions. And then and here you can select what are the actions you want to see, for example, dividend, split, M&A, IPO, etc. And then here, so you can select the action types, so capital change, distribution, etc. And then normal. Yeah, so basically it will lead you to all the corporate actions, including its subsidiaries, etc. So you can see there's acquisition, cash dividends, corporate meeting, etc. that you can take a look at. So hopefully this could help you on your research. And so like in terms of how we conduct non-performing loans in the country, so we do have this country landing page covering all the macro stuff. So for example, if you try ECST, and then you can search for non-performing loan Indonesia and you will get the ratio here. So this function could cover all the macro like from GDP and like government accounts, etc. And you can find all the data here.
Nama functionnya ECST ya, ECST. Can crypto price and narrative data be downloaded on the Bloomberg terminal? So in order to find the crypto price, you can, Pak Sandi bisa buka halaman CRYP. Ya, jadi ini ada halaman untuk mencari harga-harga untuk cryptocurrency di seluruh dunia ya, dari Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on. Untuk download ke Excel bisa, jadi terutama kita bisa menggunakan formula yang tadi BDP, di mana tickernya bisa menggunakan XBT, BGN currency, and then fieldnya adalah last price. Mungkin Excel kita bisa mengadakan sesi yang berbeda for the next session, karena kontennya juga lumayan komprehensif ya. Ya, hari ini kita fokusnya on the terminal first, tapi jawabannya adalah bisa teman-teman bisa menarik data untuk cryptocurrency. The Bloomberg terminal connected to Google Trends and Lunar Crush to detect trending crypto narratives. In terms of naratif-naratif crypto, kita ada section di bawah halaman ini, cryptocurrency news, dan ini tuh ditarik dari sumber-sumber yang berbeda, baik itu pun sumber internal dari Bloomberg atau juga dari sources-sources lain. Tapi specifically kalau untuk Lunar Crush, I am not entirely sure, tapi we can double check on this. Ya, seperti contohnya dari Business Insider News. And AI on Bloomberg create summaries related to trending crypto prices and narratives. Jadi untuk ini the closest answer will be menggunakan halaman AID, the one that we showed previously. Jadi load dulu tickernya Bitcoin, di kotak kuning bisa dibuka dan ketik Bitcoin. I think on this page we're still working on the enhancement ya. Jadi I think on this page kami hanya offer untuk saham. But other pages untuk melihat naratif mungkin kita bisa menggunakan halaman research report seperti Bloomberg Intelligence tadi terkait cryptocurrency. Jadi contohnya di halaman kita bisa ketik di kotak kuning ini crypto. Industry dashboard. Ini adalah dashboard untuk cryptocurrency. Jadi semua research report terkait crypto, macro analysis, dan juga beberapa data-data. So this is a good tool to use. Jadi setiap kali ada pertanyaan terkait penggunaan Bloomberg Terminal, saya anjurkan teman-teman untuk menggunakan helpdesk. Apa itu helpdesk? Helpdesk adalah 24/7 customer support kami. Jadi contohnya kalau teman-teman bisa menggunakan kotak kuning ini, klik on live help, teman-teman bisa menanyakan pertanyaan di kotak kuning ini, kirim enter atau juga karena ada banyak sekali ya murid-murid di Unair, teman-teman bisa memberikan kontak informasi seperti email yang bisa dikirimkan jawabannya. Kami mempunyai ratusan spesialis, baik itu pun equity, untuk fixed income, forex, dan juga commodities yang akan bisa menjawab pertanyaan-pertanyaan teman-teman. So this is the most useful function ya, tool to use ya, live help. Is there something like manual books or Bloomberg at libraries so that we can look for terms or symbols? Yes. Jadi di Bloomberg kami mempunyai halaman yang disebut BPS. Ini adalah semua resources yang bisa digunakan untuk mencari cheat sheet. Contohnya kalau teman-teman ingin mencari cheat sheet untuk equities, kita bisa pilih equities, pilih cheat sheet, dan pilih untuk equity analyst cheat sheet. Ini halaman yang dapat memberikan two-pager untuk semua shortcut yang bisa diakses, fungsi-fungsi yang digunakan untuk equity analyst. Ya. BPS, terus ada listnya di samping kiri, Bapak bisa pilih equities, lalu Bapak pilih cheat sheet, and ya, yeah. And then Bapak pilih equity analyst. Okay. Dan halaman ini bisa di print dan juga di download dan juga bisa dikirim ke email Bapak. Jadi saya anjurkan untuk probably print di laminating, terus ditaruh di sebelah Bloomberg Terminal. Biar lebih gampang. Are there any limitations or restrictions on the amount of data that can be mined from Bloomberg Terminal? Yes, we do have this thing called data limit. Jadi untuk per hari dan juga per bulan kami sudah set data limit. Dan sebenarnya jangan khawatir karena data limit itu sangat banyak. Tetapi mungkin beberapa advice, walaupun ada tombol export untuk mengekspor semua data-data ini ke Excel, don't use it too frequently karena biasanya kalau Bapak klik export itu akan menarik semua data-data yang ada di halaman itu. Contohnya misalnya di halaman EQS tadi kalau untuk semua saham-saham Indonesia kan ada kolom-kolom seperti harga saham, ada PE ratio, net income dan lain-lain. Kalau misalnya Bapak hanya ingin mendapatkan harga saham doang, menggunakan ekspor akan menarik semuanya dan ini akan makan banyak data limit. So I advise you not to do that. That's why untuk next session kami akan set up waktu untuk Excel training. Ya, cara optimize Excel workflow untuk teman-teman. So why we implemented this data limit? Kenapa? Karena Bloomberg itu adalah financial data platform. Kita adalah data vendor. Dan semua data-data ini itu bukan data milik kami. Kami membayar third party resources seperti misalnya BPS untuk menampilkan data-data ini ke dalam Bloomberg Terminal. Untuk user-user yang sudah subscribe ke dalam subscribe Bloomberg Terminal, it is okay to take the data. Tetapi kalau misalnya ada situasi di mana beberapa user menarik data ini dan didistribute untuk menjual ke orang-orang lain, that is called non-compliant. Makanya kami implement data limit ini. How can Bloomberg Terminal assist users in the conducting comprehensive analyses of companies within a specific country, such as Thailand? Are there specific functions or tools within Bloomberg Terminal that facilitate the filtering and exploration of companies based on geographic criteria? Jadi ini pertanyaan dari Mas Ricci. Again, untuk ini Mas Ricci bisa menggunakan EQS ya, halaman tadi. Jadi di halaman EQS ini kita bisa menggunakan beberapa kriteria. Contohnya kalau misalnya Mas Ricci ingin mencari list untuk Thailand di kotak kuning, Anda bisa ketik Thailand. Lalu contohnya kita juga bisa menggunakan beberapa kriteria lain. Misalnya di Thailand saya ingin mencari semua saham dari financial sector. Financial sector. Oke. Financial sector, dan contohnya misalnya saya ingin mencari saham-saham yang PE ratio-nya di atas 5. Jadi dari list ini kita bisa lihat semua saham-saham yang di Thailand, yang di financial sector ada 85, dan out of those yang PE ratio-nya di atas 5 itu adalah ada 62 results. Click on results. So this is the page you can use untuk membuat analisa untuk semua saham-saham yang sudah terpilih di sini. Pertanyaan dari Convic, apakah ada fitur yang membedakan langganan Bloomberg ini daripada aplikasi lain seperti Investing, Hayo, dan RTI Business? Saya lihat baru fitur yang beda, iya, dan data ESG saja, adakah yang lain? Jadi Bloomberg itu mempunyai ribuan fungsi-fungsi yang berbeda ya. 4 aset kelas fokus kami adalah equity, fixed income, forex, dan juga commodities. Hari ini karena kami hanya cover equity saja karena most of the students here are mainly looking at equity. Tapi kita juga ada beberapa halaman-halaman lain seperti untuk commodities. One of the tools that you can use adalah related functions menu, di mana ini adalah seperti menu directory untuk Bloomberg Terminal. Jadi di sini contohnya kita bisa menggunakan commodities. Di sini kita bisa lihat beberapa informasi seperti harga commodities di seluruh dunia dan juga beberapa sektor-sektor, misalnya contohnya untuk renewables seperti ini. Oke. Dan teman-teman bisa lihat untuk renewables kita bisa lihat beberapa hal seperti misalnya for example BNEF. BNEF adalah salah satu dari research team kami yang fokus on renewables, di mana di sini kind of similar to Bloomberg Intelligence, tapi ini fokusnya adalah untuk renewables, where you can see beberapa data-data dan juga tools untuk melihat seperti clean energy, contohnya. Yeah, so there's actually a lot of things that you can access on the terminal. Usually we invite you guys to share apa saja yang ingin di explore dalam Bloomberg Terminal, dan setelah kami dapat pendapat, we can set up a session untuk data-data spesifik itu. So we're here to help you, but you will need to let us know what are the things that you need. Untuk pertanyaan dari UNER, do Bloomberg have the ability to do data processing like statistical software? So I don't have to export data to Excel and do data processing in other software. Ini mungkin boleh elaborate sedikit ya, software apa yang ingin digunakan dan juga data apa yang ingin diproses. Ya mungkin kalau UNER ingin elaborate atau mengirimkan elaborasi ke email kami, boleh. We will need to learn more what you need. Misalnya apakah statistical software ini untuk R, Python, dan lain-lain. Dan jawaban singkatnya kami ada integrasi untuk Python dan juga R. Ya. Tapi again depends on the use case untuk teman-teman. Habis ini ya, kita akan kirim materi. Ya. Jadi semua yang tadi dijelaskan oleh Bu Jenny, PowerPoint slides-nya akan dikirim recap-nya. Setelah itu bisa teman-teman bisa dipraktek di Bloomberg Terminal. Oke. Kalau tidak ada pertanyaan lagi mungkin ya jadi untuk R dan Python, we do have web API dan juga server API seperti ini. Somewhere here.
Halo.
Ya, jadi kita cover beberapa interfaces seperti Java, C++. From what I remember, Python dan R juga di-include, tapi untuk detailsnya, give us time to search for the guidebook. Boleh tolong, can you write down your email so we can get back to you? Untuk UNER ya. Oke, tutorial untuk melihat harga obligasi negara di kawasan Asia Tenggara. Apakah ada fitur untuk melihat history rate bunga dan understanding obligasinya dari Config? Yes. Untuk melihat harga obligasi, teman-teman bisa menggunakan halaman yang disebut fixed income search. SRCH. Di sini it's a similar tool sama EQS tadi, equity screening, tapi perbedaannya ini adalah untuk fixed income. Di mana teman-teman bisa menggunakan kotak kuning ini untuk ketik keyword seperti Indonesia bonds. Klik enter, lalu klik results. Sorry, kembali lagi. Kalau teman-teman hanya ingin mencari government bonds saja, kita bisa pilih aset classesnya hanya governments. Close. Results. Ini adalah list semua government bonds di Indonesia, including kupon dan juga price-nya. Price dan yield. So this is the page SRCH. How do we find out the ESG data methodology? Oke, untuk ESG data methodology ini bisa diakses dari halaman BESG, ya, BESG. Dan di sini kita bisa melihat ya,
Yeah, no, you just go directly to.
ya, ya, jadi di halaman BESG, Bloomberg Scores, and then ini adalah semua metodologinya. Oke. Jadi kami menggunakan metodologi-metodologi yang berbeda untuk industri-industri yang berbeda. Jadi contohnya misalnya untuk consumer staples, ini adalah metodologinya. Ini ya. Jadi it will depend on which sector you're looking at. Karena metodologi yang digunakan berbeda. Oh, dia mau nanya. Ya, Mas Ricci.
Baik, terima kasih atas kesempatannya. Saya Ricci, mahasiswa akuntansi Unair. Izinkan saya untuk bertanya 3 pertanyaan yang kebetulan memang saya sudah menggunakan terminal ini dari awal perpustakaan Unair penyediakan Bloomberg Terminal. Ada kesusahan yang saya alami. Yang pertama itu adalah apakah ada batasan ya buat mining data Bloomberg, karena terakhir kemarin itu saya mining data menggunakan function FA, kemudian saya convert ke Excel kan, itu kena limit, Pak, kena limit 5.500 data. Waktu sudah ke data ke 5.000, sisa 500-nya itu kena limit. Dia di Excel tulisannya limit, daily limit seperti itu. Jadi mungkin apakah memang ada daily limitation buat data mining di Bloomberg. Kemudian yang kedua, Untuk ekstraksi data secara large scale atau bulk download itu apakah bisa dilakukan langsung di Bloomberg terminalnya tanpa perlu memakai function di Excel. Kemudian yang ketiga, apakah ada update terbaru dari Bloomberg Data Terminal yang bisa atau yang mungkin berdampak kepada user? Mungkin itu saja 3 pertanyaan yang saya ajukan. Terima kasih.
Oke, terima kasih ya Mas Ricci ya. Untuk menjawab pertanyaan yang pertama, yes, there is indeed a data limit di Bloomberg Terminal. Kenapa kami impose data limit ini? Karena kami ingin mencegah untuk data-data ini disalahgunakan dan dijual ke other sources. Jadi ada yang disebut daily limit dan juga yang disebut monthly limit. Jadi I think in this case the best case scenario adalah untuk menggunakan formula-formula seperti BQL atau BDP yang bisa optimize penarikan data-data tersebut. Jika Mas Ricci sering menggunakan say export button, it is very consuming, data consuming. That's why it's quite dangerous untuk menggunakan export button ini kalau terlalu sering. Jadi biasanya kalau Mas Ricci ingin menggunakan export button ini, maybe use it when you really need to extract the data. Yeah. So kemudiannya the next stepnya kami akan mengadakan sesi untuk Excel untuk mengajarkan teman-teman untuk menggunakan formula-formula Bloomberg seperti BDP, BDH dan juga BQL untuk optimize penarikan data-data tersebut.
Baik, izin menanggapi Pak. Terkait, ya saya menggunakan formula BDH di Excel. Nah, kena limitnya di situ, Pak. Saya kira limitnya itu hanya ada pada saat kita menarik data menggunakan terminal nggak pakai Excel-nya. Ternyata di Excel-nya juga kena limit pakai BDH itu. Nah, limitnya ini apakah harian, daily, atau bagaimana, Pak?
Limitnya ada 2 limit, limit daily dan juga ada limit yang monthly. And I'm sorry, tapi kita tidak ada jawabannya. Kenapa? Karena even the Bloomberg employees, kita juga tidak tahu specifically data limit itu ada berapa. The only team that knows this adalah tim compliance kami. Ya, biasanya setelah data limit sudah hit, Mas Ricci bisa reach out ke helpdesk kami in order for our team untuk explore workflow Mas Ricci. Make sure dari which sectors or like which segments are you taking most of the data from?
Baik, terima kasih, Pak.
Sorry Mas Ricci, the next question tadi apa? Can you repeat that?
Baik, yang pertanyaan pertama kan tadi yang limit. Pertanyaan yang kedua itu mengenai ini. Kalau pakai Bloomberg Terminal itu kan ini kan aku ambil contoh pakai Osiris. Kalau di Osiris itu kan kita bisa nih kayak fungsinya tadi EQS. Nah, EQS ini apakah juga kena limit ya, Pak? Kalau semisal apakah masuk dalam limit harian atau mingguannya itu kalau pakai EQS?
Jadi semua data yang diekstrak dari Bloomberg ke Excel itu akan kehitung dengan limit. Another tool that you can use kalau Mas Ricci ingin melihat monitor harga-harga dan beberapa fundamental adalah fungsi worksheet. Jadi contohnya kita bisa menggunakan equity screening. Pilih beberapa kriteria, lalu klik results. Dan instead of using the export button to export to Excel, Mas Ricci bisa gunakan export to worksheet. Apa itu worksheet? Worksheet itu adalah sebuah dashboard Bloomberg yang mirip dengan Excel, tetapi perbedaannya kan kalau di Excel tuh Mas Ricci nge-extract data Bloomberg keluar dalam terminal dan masuk ke Excel. Kalau ini adalah di feed ke dalam monitor Bloomberg yang disebut security worksheet. It works very similar to Excel and data-datanya tuh dinamis. Jadi contohnya di sini kita bisa melihat semua saham-saham ini, harga sahamnya, dan juga Mas Ricci bisa mengedit dan customize ini untuk menambahkan beberapa field-field yang berbeda. Misalnya Mas Ricci mau melihat net income. Jadi this is an alternative, contohnya nah tuh datanya akan keluar semua. Jika Mas Ricci menggunakan ini tidak akan memakan data limit at all. Jadi ini adalah alternatif lainnya. Ya. Nama fungsinya adalah W untuk security worksheet W.
Bisa diulangi nama fungsinya apa, Pak?
W. Ini enggak, kalau harus maksudnya kalau misalnya I know, exactly, I know. Tapi kan setelah misalnya hari ini data limitnya pakai ini dulu, mungkin the next day pas limitnya terset, baru diekspor ya.
Oke, baik. Untuk peserta yang sudah hadir pada hari ini, apakah ada yang ingin ditanyakan lagi? Oke, baik. Jika tidak ada, saya mohon izin untuk menutup acara gitu ya. Baik, kami mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Ibu Jenny Liu, Bapak Ade, serta Bapak Daniel atas materi yang telah disampaikan. Kami juga berterima kasih kepada para peserta, baik secara langsung atau yang hadir secara online, yang telah bersemangat untuk mengikuti acara workshop dari awal hingga akhir. Demikian acara hybrid workshop. Terima kasih atas kehadiran dan perhatian Bapak Ibu, staf ruang baca Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis, serta rekan-rekan mahasiswa. Saya selaku pembawa acara meminta maaf jikalau ada kesalahan dalam penyampaian. Akhir kata, wabillahi taufik wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bapak Ibu yang ingin mencoba untuk langsung akses ke Bloomberg, silakan bisa dicoba untuk melihat fitur-fiturnya yang dijelaskan oleh Bu Jenny tadi. Monggo.
Oke, baik. Sebelumnya saya informasikan untuk link sertifikat teman-teman bisa langsung mengunduh informasinya melalui Zoom meeting. Kemudian sudah tertampil juga di layar monitor Anda, begitu. Terima kasih. Bagi teman-teman yang masih berada di ruang Zoom, kami harap untuk bisa mengisi presensi workshop Bloomberg pada hari ini. Terima kasih.